Just a quick question. Why is there so much conflicting information about the arrival of Nibiru?
I guess because the information we have comes from the translations, and I suppose most of the vocal translations about the Nibiru, it comes from Zecharia Sitchin. And so, my calculation has been based on his work rather than anything else.
Okay, now I heard that his calculation was 2060, but tonight you said it was 15 to 2,000 years from now.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because in his last book, he talks about the translations, talking about the arrival of Nibiru around 570 BC, somewhere around there. Okay. So if Nibiru was around 570 BC, then you can do the calculations yourself. And the thing is that remember that Nibiru speeds up when it comes in. When it comes close to the sun, it would speed up just like a comet. So it's like a slingshot, right? So it comes close to the sun, it speeds up, and then it goes around the sun and gets flung out into space again. So it probably moves around the sun a lot quicker. It takes a shorter period of time to go around the sun than it does to move in deep space, if that makes sense.
All right, next up we go to Seabrook, Texas. Heather on the wild card line. Hello, Heather.
Hi. Yes, I had a question about the correlation of these stone structures around the world and the location of objects in space, and if you think they'll work simultaneously, and if they'll be activated by humans or visitors.
I missed the first part of your question, Heather. If there's a correlation between the stone circles and objects in space.
Yeah, there's the mysterious stone structures around the world. I guess that would include like Stonehenge as well.
Yes.
You mean like the correlation like Orion's belt and things like that?
Yeah, well, they work simultaneously, and are they correlated to an object or objects in space?
Personally, we haven't found any obvious correlations to anything in space at this stage. As you can imagine, that is a huge job and would require a team of experts and astronomers and archaeoastronomers and sophisticated technology to do that. At this stage, we really are just doing the initial groundwork, and I suppose we only now ready to launch into the deep end of this research and this discovery. There's so much research we need to do and so many scientific experiments we need to do. But the only links we've made at this stage is to Polaris, the star Polaris, also Draco. There's a link to Draco, and there's a link to Orion's belt. And that becomes very interesting. Because there are some places at Adam's calendar that link to the pole star, very distinctly linked to the pole star. And incidentally, this ancient site, which I now believe is 285,000 years old, Adam's calendar, its significance and its sacredness has continued in recent African culture. Because the amazing Credo Mutwa, whose work has been used by many people around the world, including myself, and we actually need to do a lot to help Credo because he's really, really down and out. But that's another story. If you want to help, please go to my website and there's a link to help Credo. Credo Mutwa was initiated as a shaman and a sangoma at Adam's calendar in 1937. And it was already a sacred site then among African culture, and it was. Credo tells me that it is among the two most sacred sites on planet Earth. He calls it where heaven mated with Mother Earth, and at first I didn't understand that until I figured out that is where they inserted the fertilized egg into those first 7 Annunaki females. That's what he meant by where heaven mated with Mother Earth. And I saw Credo a few weeks ago, and I asked him that question specifically, is that what you meant? And he said, yes, that is what I meant.
Michael, is there any record of the propulsion system that they had?
No, not at this stage. But no, nothing. You know what we have discovered, though, George, is on this incredible giant slab, these glaciated slabs of andesite, which is the same as diorite. It's that very dark, very hard black rock. Many of the Egyptian statues are carved out of that same diorite stone. Very, very hard. And incidentally, when you look at the Egyptian statues that are 5,000 years old, they are still as shiny today as the day they were made. It just shows you how long it takes for that rock to erode. And then when you come and look at the erosion on these incredible carvings and petroglyphs, there are thousands of them that are photographed on these slabs outside Kimberley in South Africa. That's where we incidentally found the carved ankh as well. There we find some very interesting and very, what we can't figure out, carvings into this very hard rock that could be seen as rockets or jet propulsions or propulsion systems or energy propulsion systems and items like that. They definitely could be seen like that.
Okay, let's go to Cleveland, Ohio. Cody's with us now. Hi, Cody. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had heard about the giant comet, which was, I believe, twice the size of Jupiter, which came by our solar system in February of 2003, I believe.
Yeah.
That some have speculated could have been this thing, Nibiru, which actually was repelled by a giant solar flare from the sun.
That was Comet Neat, by the way, N-E-A-T.
Yes.
Comet Neat.
Went right by the sun.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If Nibiru's got to be a planet if the Anunnaki came from there, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it won't be a comet. So I know about that from the work of Nassim Haramein, who you probably know about.
He's been on a couple times. He's a great guy.
Yeah, phenomenal researcher and physicist. And I found out about that comet, but there were apparently two comets that actually came through in short succession that came around the sun into our solar system and then very quickly vanished. Now, according to Nassim Haramein, those comets or those objects were so large that they should have disturbed the gravitational pull, gravitational or orbits of all the planets in the solar system, and yet they didn't. And
if Nibiru is on this 3,600-year elliptical orbit, which means it gets far away from the sun, and if they're in our solar system, I wonder what they're using as a heat source. Is that what they needed the gold for, to protect its atmosphere? I mean, we need the sun, for example, or we're not going to make it.
We need the sun. Yeah.
If you go 3,600 years away, basically, the sun's going to look like a little dot. I wonder how that planet can survive.
Yeah, the Anunnaki and the Sumerian tablets talk about the planet having an internal heat system. Remember that some planets radiate heat and some don't.
Right.
In fact, most planets should radiate heat, but some don't, and that's probably an anomaly in itself. But they talk about Nibiru as being a radiating planet. So it radiated its own heat, and it had its own energy source. And that's why I guess they understood the flow of energy from the planet itself. And that's why they started using that kind of energy device when they arrived on this planet. Because it was just automatic to them, It was an obvious thing to do. And the shield that they needed to create to protect their planet was really a shield in the upper atmosphere to protect them from cosmic rays, cosmic rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays, and all those things that destroy life on planet Earth. If we didn't have our ozone, we wouldn't be able to live here. So I guess they had similar problems there, but their heat they would have gotten from their planet itself.
Absolutely. Let's go to Temecula. Gilda, you're up with us. Hi, Gilda.
Hi there, George. I won't start off with a lot of questions, so I don't really know how to put it, but I discovered something when